So let's think a little bit about our collective responsibility and how we need to turn up to help each other do the right type of professional learning through each phase of your work. Through the prepare that we're about to go into, the act, and the share. Now, this is a brilliant, simple model. It's great. Prepare, act, share. Everyone can remember it. And that's important because if we have long 7, 8, 9 step inquiry cycles, most of us, to be honest, we won't even remember where we're up to. So as we think about the prepare, act, share, one of the things I want you to see is that even though it's simple to say, there's a lot of richness built in underneath. Because it's really about 3 different types of learning modes that we're going to enter together that are crucial for actually enhancing our expertise. So in the prepare phase, it's about new learning. It's about opening up our thinking and getting really clear about the thing we're about to work on, making those decisions. In the act phase, well, this of course is about the deliberate practice. It's about us taking that new idea that we've discussed, that we've learned about, that we've talked about, that we've decided on, and finding a way to make it work in our context. And then the share is to come back together and actually to learn from experience. In education, it's so flat out that we're often go, 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 and then crash at the end of the week or the end of the term. But in this model, we actually hold time to come together to share, to systematically learn from the work we've done and to unpack the lessons and to work out how to transfer that into our future craft. So I want you to see in each of these phases, there is a particular type of professional learning going on, and there's particular ways that we need to lean in and help each other do that. So let's focus a little bit on the prepare, given we're about to get into this work together. One way to think about the prepare meeting is kind of like a diamond on its side. It starts off going broader, and then at the back end, we want to get narrower. As we enter the prepare meeting, yes, we've kind of decided on the core sprint area that we're working on as a system. But that doesn't mean we want to shut down the conversation straight away and just say, all right, everyone, what are we going to do? No, instead, there's an opening up as we start to build a shared understanding of what is this practice? What does it look like? Where do we currently do it? Where have we tried it before? Where have we done work in this work before and perhaps it's stopped, or you've paused on it, or you've returned to defaults? We want to connect this sprint to our underlying understanding of learning. Part of the prepare is to say, okay, so we've got this technique that we're working on, but why is this technique aligned to what we know about how humans learn? How do we draw on the work we've done on cognitive load theory? How do we draw on the work that we've done on the science of learning and reason and connect together? See, the worst thing in evidence mobilization work is if a whole bunch of teachers, you, think that this is just all about the system wants you to do more of this thing. No, it's not about doing more of the thing. It's about deeply understanding the way that humans learn and the limits, particularly around things like working memory, and to realize that within our grasp as educators, there's small tweaks that we've worked out amazingly. We've worked this out in the field and assessed by research, that there are certain things we can do that will better align with the limits of how students learn, with the boundary conditions of how the brain is made. And so given that, we want to have this discussion in the prepare meeting where I want to hear, if I was sitting next to you, I'd want to hear lots of people making connections between the practice we're looking at and the deep understanding of human learning that we've got. I'd want to hear people talking about how they've done this before, where they've struggled before, what are the best examples in what areas they've done this, and really sharing deeply about that. To pick up on the psychological safety point, it'd be great if people were sharing where they've struggled before or where they've kind of not felt like the curriculum materials or programs or resources have sort of been an enabler in this area. And this is the opening up. The opening up is important. We're enriching the discussion. We're making connections to all the work you've done on the science of learning. And we're really connecting why this particular practice solves this or this range of human learning challenges. And once we've really done that work together, then we want to start to get narrow. After broadening up and making connections, we want to get really narrow. And at the back end of this prepare meeting, it's really about asking, okay, so what does this practice look like in your context? Where specifically are you going to make some implementation intentions to do this practice with your students in a particular subject or domain area? And the more specific you can get in this area, the better. So I'm going to work with this practice, these students in this subject or domain area. If I'm a secondary educator, you might be talking about when specifically you see those students in that class, in that subject area on your timetable cadence. For our primary educators, you might be looking much more around if you're going to be applying this technique to a specific subject area to begin, or domain area. When do you often teach that? Where does that turn up in the week? And getting right into, okay, planning for that practice. What resources will you need? What kind of preparation? What would it look like? Even getting people to get right specific about what would someone see if they came in seeing you practice this specific technique. So I think it's crucial as we get into this prepare meeting that we all take shared responsibility for the quality of the dialogue. We've already talked about the culture of the team in that sense of building psychological safety and vulnerability. But even though you're going to have a facilitator or someone on the team that's the poor thing, maybe been voluntold to lead this through, please don't turn up and sort of go through this discussion and at the end kind of vote about whether or not you thought it went well or not. Take collective responsibility for this discussion to go well. Take collective responsibility to open up the discussion. Take collective responsibility to then get highly specific by the end of this about what you will do and what it might look like. That's going to then really set you up beautifully to get into the act phase. And the act phase is all about the deliberate practice, my friends. It's about finding a way in the busyness of your work to not just do your teaching, but to also get deliberately better at one part of your teaching. And if anyone walked into your classroom, they would just go, oh yeah, look, Simon's teaching. But I'm not just teaching. I'm purposely getting out of autopilot in one part of my teaching, and I'm specifically trying to enhance my practice in that area. And during that act phase, one of the things we've got to do for each other is to be useful peer supports and accountability to help make sure that in the busyness and urgency of everything, we don't get a couple of weeks in and people go, oh yeah, that system sprint we were doing. The group here is about nudging and supporting, not pressure, just nudging and peer kind of support here around, hey, what have you done so far? How's it going? Helping people move through that act phase to do the deliberate practice, to be trying things out, to be giving some feedback, to be giving some guidance, to energizing each other to keep going. And that'll, of course, mean that when we get to the share, we've actually got something to talk about. We're unpacking, of course, what we did, how it went, what it felt like. Is it getting easier? What adjustments did you make? And what are the early signals of the impact for students that you're starting to see? The reason why I want you to understand this is that prepare, act, share does sound simple, but it's not simplistic. It has been specifically designed to help all of us as educators work through the critical steps we need if we're actually going to enhance our practice, if we're actually going to shift instructional habits. The prepare is about new learning, opening up, connecting this practice to all the work you've already been doing about how humans learn, and then getting highly specific. The actual acting is about taking that highly specific intention and turning it into action, to be kind to yourself because you're only practicing one thing in a certain way, but to actually also hold yourself to account, to follow through on the commitment made. There is no way to improve teaching just by building your knowledge and having good conversations. We need to do our craft in our classroom and find a way to enhance that part of our craft. And then we share because we want to sense make, we want to draw lessons together, and we want to find a way to take that learning you've done over 4 to 6 weeks and then integrate it into our ongoing repertoire of teaching. This simple process has the power to shift one specific practice in a way that then you're going to be able to sustain in your craft going on without the intentional effort. So think about how you're going to turn up to the prepare meeting. Take shared and collective responsibility for the quality of that conversation. It's not professionally kind to leave that just to the poor person who's required to lead it or facilitate it. All of us have collective responsibility for the quality of that time together. And I'm going to ask you to act first, to share first, to build on the ideas of others, to help people if they're going off on tangents, bring them back to the core strategy of focusing on. If we're running out of time, help people get really narrow. Hey everyone, we've only got 8 minutes. Let's make sure we're all clear about the thing we're working on and when we're going to work on it. And if we can all play that role, we're going to have a really enriching conversation, but then that's going to set us up for the next phases of the work.